Hey, what's up guys? It's C-Sax coming to you with a deck profile today. Today we're going to take a look at the deck that I played in the Jank battles at Gen Con, and it is a favorite of mine. It's Newborn. I've played Newborn a lot on the channel, and people have asked for the deck, and I've never gotten around to making a profile of it. So I figured, since I did really well with this deck at the Jank battles, and it's on stream, this was as good a time as any to take a look at a variation on this deck. This was a version I threw together right before the Jank battles. I didn't know what I was going to play, but Newborn is probably my favorite deck in the game. So he was on the Jank list, so I figured I'd throw together an updated version of the Newborn deck. So it's a little bit different than older versions I've played on the channel before, but we'll get into some of that, and we'll talk about some of the changes that you can make to this to make it a little better. A little less jank, because Newborn is inherently jank, but there are some cool things you can do in the deck to kind of elevate him to what I would consider maybe non-jank status. So let's go over Newborn himself really quick first, because I'm sure a lot of you have forgotten by now what this card does, because he's Newborn. So let's take a look at him real quick. At level 1, so he's a 3/3 with 6 wounds. He's on the Xenomorph team, obviously. He's got creatures, so he can't hold equipment. And then his level 1 power is RAR, with lots of R's and lots of A's and 3 exclamation points. It's an any turn combat green. Put 3 +1/+1 counters on the Newborn. Use this power only if you have no cards in your hand, which is pretty bad, because basically it's a level 1 power that you can only use once you get to level 2. Because basically once you're getting to 0 cards, you're at level 2 already. So that level 1 power is not great, and you really only get to use it once a game. And then at level 2, he's a 6/6 now, and he gains a beautiful butterfly. Any turn combat space, if the Newborn is defending, it's ferocious and monstrous this combat, which is actually quite good. So ferocious, he strikes first, and monstrous, he strikes everyone. So a lot of times when you're 9/9 at level 2, your opponent will try to team attack into you, and you just become ferocious and monstrous, and you strike everyone and take them all out. This usually only comes up once a game, because once they do that, then they will never do that again. And a lot of smarter players just won't run into it at all. So we're only playing, we're not planning on doing that a whole lot, but it is really, really strong when it goes off. So now we're going to take a look at the list. I'm just going to run down the list real quick, and then we'll talk a little bit about how the deck plays and some changes I think you should probably make to make it a little bit better. Alright, so for characters, we have 4 solo, 3 Ovomorph, 4 leader, by far the most important card in the deck. He's your mulligan condition. We have 3 Hit Monkey, 2 Devilslayer, 1 Leviathan Demolisher, playing 3 Gargoyle, 2 Taskmaster, 4 Masacre, 1 Savage Leviathan, 4 Perfect Organism, one of my favorite cards in the game, 1 Leviathan Beast, 1 the Queen, and 1 Blackheart. For plot twists, I've got just the 4 Chestburst and 4 Might Makes Right, which is like the best card in the game right now. We have, for our locations, the 4 Alien Special Location, 4 Fisk Tower for our leader, 4 yellows, 4 greens, and only 2 space, because, like I said, that level 2 power for Newborn only comes up very infrequently. The only other thing you need this for is for your facehuggers, which of course we're playing our facehugger pile here for our Ovomorphs. Alright, so really simply how the deck works is you just want to mulligan for leader and a yellow. If you have leader and no yellow, that's probably a keep, because leader's the harder thing of the 2 to draw, because you only have 4 of him, but you have 8 yellows. But basically you just want to mulligan for that, and then on turn 2, you want to play your leader. And then when you enter your main phase, you're going to dump your hand with Newborn to level up. If you have a green, that's great, so that you can trigger his 0 cards in hand pump real quick, so become a 9/9. And then just use leader to draw a whole new hand, so that you level up into a huge level 2 Newborn on turn 2. And then you just refill up your hand with a whole new hand, and then just smash him in the face with a giant Newborn. Other than that, it's basically just an aggro deck. You got your solos in here. You got Massacre. Hit Monkey is really, really great for making your main character huge. And obviously he's amazing with stuff like you got your Leviathans in here. And it's absolutely amazing with Perfect Organism. Perfect Organism is just one of my favorite cards in the game. This card is absolutely incredible, especially, you know, with Hitmonkey, Solo, Might Makes Right. It can kill pretty much anything. It's an amazing card. Changes you might want to consider making. The Devilslayer on 2. If you're going to play Devilslayer, I would suggest either going all in on this and playing 3 or 4 of it and cutting some of your higher end stuff and just trying to kill them early with like Devilslayer Solo, Devilslayer Might Makes Right, stuff like that. Otherwise, I would just cut it. Playing 2 and not really having a plan for it is kind of meh. A lot of times you have Devilslayer and no real way to get to them unless you have Solo or you want to burn a Might Makes Right on it, which Might Makes Right is much better with stuff like Perfect Organism or Gargoyle. So I would say either go all in on Devilslayer or cut it entirely. Other than that, Blackheart on 7. This card used to be much, much better when all we had on 8 was stuff like Thanos and Foom, because Blackheart, because you're dumping your hand early on and putting a lot of evil characters in the KO pile, he would usually come down as like a 15 or a 16 or sometimes a 17 or 18. But with stuff like Gilgamesh and Sentry, that 15-16 usually isn't enough anymore. So this card isn't really all that great to play, especially because we've cut a lot of our evil characters here. Like I cut Nebula for Gargoyle, so Blackheart's not as good. So I would probably just cut Blackheart, and you just wait one more turn, and I would just probably sub it for Sentry, because he's a guaranteed 18-18, and you're probably going to have the leftover yellows from your leader. The only other thing that uses yellow is Perfect Organism, and a lot of times you're using your LV426 for that. So you'll probably have the yellows for Sentry if you need it. And then also I might play a second Queen, because you do have the Ovomorphs in here, and this is just a really good card for team attacking with Newborn and killing big things, but also it's amazing when you get to resolve the burst off the Facehugger, which happens quite often. So I might add a second Queen. Also Dual Maw Leviathan on 7 would be really good. But other than that, for a quote-unquote jank deck, it's really, really solid. If you wanted to add spooks in here, you could. If you wanted to play a few more space and something like the Milano or Novacore, those cards are pretty good. And other than that, that's Newborn. I might update the list at some point with some of those changes I was talking about, because this is a favorite deck of mine, and I just love it so much. Dumping your hand onto your whole hand into the KO pile and becoming a huge 9/9 main character if you have the green, and then just drawing a whole new hand with leader is incredible. And then if they leave that leader for any amount of time, and you can just keep refilling your hand every time you play your aggressive cards and just refilling back up, it's really greedy and it's really, really fun. I definitely suggest trying out Newborn. If you thought he was terrible, he might not be quite as terrible as you think. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I hope you give the deck a try, give it a chance, and I'll see you next time. Bye.